Folks, it's a special edition of Spoilerin Time this week for many reasons, one of which is we've got our winter movie draft happening. So we're going to have a little bit of an abbreviated Spoilerin Time. We'll be talking about Better Call Saul, episode 7 of season 4. Next week, we'll start talking about Dirk Gently, but we're very excited to be talking about The Good Place seasons 1 and seasons 2 because I'm Tom Merritt. Brian Brushwood, who's joining us?
Yeah, dude, we are joined by Twit TV's Megan Maroney. Dude, I'm so very excited about this. The Good Place. Spoiler alert, it's great. It's such a smart, good show, and I'm so glad that I just wrapped it up. How recently did you finish up the second season, Megan?
About an hour ago.
Great.
Whoa.
Okay. So here's
a little more than an hour ago.
Here's what I love. At some point, and we're in spoiler territory, so it's fine. At some point you hear, oh, and there's a twist at the end of the first season or whatever. And it's like everybody can, the moment you hear that phrase, that's code for you can instantly guess what the twist is, right? Mm-hmm. I love the fact that what the second season finale brings to us is the opportunity to think of it less as a twist, but more as, oh, wow, every season we're just going to have, as I think of it, a change of venue. And I love that idea. Basically, moral philosophy as an ongoing class disguised as a television show for primetime is freaking great. I'm so excited.
I hadn't actually thought about it till just now, but the idea, Brian, that you're suggesting is that it's a course.
Yeah.
It's like the 100 level, 200 level, 300 level, like.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe I'm telling any of you guys something you don't already know. I mean, it seemed fairly transparent to me that this is just intro to moral philosophy.
I definitely thought of it as teaching me, but not in the like each season is like, okay, now we're the 200 level, you know, we're going to get a little more complex.
And I wouldn't be surprised. So we're heading into season 3 right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we spend a season. If we spend a season watching animals get tortured or killed and talking about that, another season talking about artificially intelligent robots and what our ethical obligations to them are. Like, I mean, this could go on forever, and I would love everything about it.
I can't wait for the Max Shaler season.
I don't know what a Max Shaler is.
My favorite philosopher.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a baseball guy.
Also shortstop for the
also
Boston Beans in 1912. Yeah.
So Megan, what was had you been watching it in real time, or did you only experience it as a Netflix thing?
Only Netflix thing. And yeah, I don't even remember where I heard about it, but I started watching it and in searching for something that my whole family could watch together, the 13-year-olds and the 15-year-olds and 15-year-old. And so, yeah, and we were watching it very slowly because, you know, you have to all be together in the same room, not doing anything else and all not fighting with each other. And yeah, so we just were slow. And then I was like, well, I've got homework to do. I have to finish it. For my friends Brian and Tom, and so you guys, you're on your own.
Do the kids enjoy it? Like this is because I've tried to sell my 14-year-old and my 10-year-old on it, and both of them, it was met with provisional approval. I think that's the most positive way I can phrase it. Like they're like, oh no, that's good, I'll watch more, and neither of them have on their own decided to watch more.
Yeah, my 15-year-old was wary at first, but she and the 13-year-olds love it, and like their English and history teacher loves it, and they like discuss it in class with her and stuff. So yeah, I love how it's grown. Like in the first couple episodes, I was like, you know, this is okay, but it just really has become more and deeper as it goes along, and I loved the finale, the season finale. It was beautiful.
It feels to me because I put on the charm to Justin Robert Young, and I insisted like, hey, let's say we watch just one episode, 2 episodes, 3 episodes, 4. Like the magic number is 4. I think if you get to episode 4 in the first season, you're either in or you're out, and it took root with Justin, which made me very, very happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally have, we've been talking about like the beginning doesn't hook you. You're like, oh, this is amusing. It's cute, but I get it. You know, I don't think I need to see too much of it. So if there is a fault to season 1, it's that potentially they waited too long to make it interesting.
Oh, to open everything up and to say, oh, no. Literally, we can go anywhere and literally we could do anything. And yes, we can explore literally any interesting, it's just all putting a finger in all of these moral conundrums. Maybe the best thing I've ever seen Ted Danson in, and I think I mentioned this before, and that includes Creepshow 1.
Wait, what about, he was in something just recently too, Fargo. Wasn't he in Fargo?
I don't think he was. Fargo season 3?
Maybe I made that up.
Yeah. I think you said the word Fargo. That's what you're thinking of. He
yeah.
once said
Probably.
Fargo. I know that. No, yeah, he was Hank Larson in Fargo.
Wait, what?
Yeah. That's right. Right. Yeah, no, remember he was kind of the bumbly sheriff who was like, oh, come on, everybody, it's going to be fine.
That's right. In the 70s, season 2. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Got crazy. It. Yeah, so, nailed it. No.
Is it still the best thing you've ever? I mean, he stars. He doesn't star in Fargo, so.
Yeah, but his. Okay, so we're watching The Good Place, and at some point, Justin very early on just says, "Oh, I get it. He's doing the guy from eHarmony," and then once he said it, I couldn't not see it, and I was like, holy crap, you're so right. Like if the guy from eHarmony just really wanted everyone to get into their right place and everything to work together, then that's exactly what it would look like.
I mean, the guy from eHarmony, that's what he wants everyone to be in the right place with their match.
Yeah.
What about like all the Wizard of Oz allusions to Wizard of Oz? That was something I would have read up on if I had time.
To be honest, however many of them there were, missed 100% of them. Please enlighten me.
Well, they're going to like especially second season, like they're going to like a wizard like person, and there is sort of like the brick roads, and then in one scene, Eleanor is wearing ruby slippers, like when they're going to see the judge, and they're like I think there may be one extra. I guess there's one extra, unless you count Toto. If someone's Toto, then there's 4 of them, right? Or no, I guess there's 4 of them.
Tin Man, Scarecrow, Lion, and Dorothy.
Right.
And then So I just knew that they were throwing in a lot of references there.
Janet could be Toto.
Toto?
All right. Yeah.
Oh,
Janet is totally Toto. And the wizard is kind of like the Wizard of Oz, right? Like, I mean, like, Ted Danson is. Like, he's kind of like, he's pretending to be something that he's really not.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of like, I guess there's economics in the Wizard of Oz, the book, not really. Isn't there some sort of, yeah.
A lot of people believe the premise is based on the gold standard, even though L. Frank Baum has said that was not why he wrote it that way. But
so one of the courses they teach over at the Wizard Academy, they talk a lot about archetypes.
Not the Wizard of Oz Academy.
No, correct. They talk a bit about archetypes and how there tends to be kind of 4 primary personality types. One is basically the easiest way to remember for my generation is Kirk, Spock, Scotty, and Bones. Right? You have Kirk, the freewheeling cowboy. You have Spock, the intellectual, see everything from 1,000 feet, non-emotional. You have Bones, that's pure emotion about doing good and getting hands on, and then you've got Scotty, this passionate, like, let's do what needs to be done thing.
Wow, it's also Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Slytherin, and Hufflepuff. Yeah,
correct. You see, and it's also, even think about this. At some point, people had to pick 4 presidents to put on Mount Rushmore. So it's also freaking Washington as this warrior general, Lincoln as this passionate feeling, set everyone free thing. Jefferson and the cowboy is Roosevelt, right? So it's like it keeps tracking in all of these different things. I wonder. Who's who in this one? So in this case, you have certainly the cowboy has to be Eleanor. Eleanor is the Kirk. Chidi is the Spock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is Tahani the Bones, I guess?
I mean, I guess she's functionally gifted in terms of being able to move stuff around. Like I would say the Scotty of that.
But Jason's not Bones.
Yeah, no, he's Jason. Wild card.
I can see Jason being Scotty just because he's like pure of heart and just wants to do the things that are in front of him.
Yeah, I don't know. And you could even assign one of those roles to Janet and one of those two.
Yeah, Janet is Spock-ish. Like she's, becoming human. Is she,
Janet's the computer.
Yeah.
On the Enterprise.
She's the Majel Barrett. Yeah.
Yeah, she's Majel Barrett.
But then she
also,
gets married
Janet's
to Scotty.
The best.
Yeah.
Darcy Carden kills it.
Yeah, I think we talked about this last week, but I think I shared with you there was some interview with Darcy where she talked about how the interview process, they had to act out scenes that weren't actually from the show
to get the part. She's also in Barry, and she's quite good in Barry, but just the character doesn't hold a candle to Janet. Like, it's so good.
Well, I loved seeing her in Barry because you're like, it's Janet. Barry. Yeah.
So Good Place is good. Wow, what a surprise review. Hot take for
funny.
us.
Even though this is spoiler in time, I kind of find myself holding off wanting to talk about the events that happen. And I think it's because I know it's all going to change in 3 days when it comes back. That's
a good question.
Where we leave them is basically they get a chance to start again, right? I am bored by the idea of them going back to Earth and not knowing that they've died and not having any of those experiences to draw on. So I know that's not what it's going to be like past the first episode.
Although there is that hint, like, first of all, how great was it that they figured out a way to sneak Ted Danson behind a bar in a scene in there? But more importantly, I can totally see. I don't know. I think there's an interesting enough adventure in real life living meat space for the four of them to come together and experience in there. Like I mean, you realize this is a show where they could full on just go into a heist movie and then get to the ethical dilemma of how to split the treasure that they get. Well, and
that's I guess that's what I mean. Like the sort of default premise that we all know is not going to be is you're all going back to your lives. You didn't know each other when you were alive, so you won't know each other now, and it all starts over fresh, and you'll have no memory. And I mean, if it stayed that way, that would be super boring. I wouldn't care. I would not want to see them struggling with their demons anymore. That's a drama. This Is Us. I already have that show. I don't want to see The Good Place do that. What I do want to see is them accidentally meet each other and pull off a heist and deal with the ethical dilemmas, and then start to slightly realize that something's weird about all four of us knowing each other. And I think it'll be something like that.
Yeah.
But they did meet each other in the finale, though. I mean, Chidi and Eleanor did.
Right.
Oh, right. No, I'd forgotten that. You're right. So that's already started.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I'm glad they got on that.
Where do you think, in terms of their like journey to be judged as good or medium people, like they were very close to getting to that point at the end of season 2? Do we have a 20+ episode season of them? Yeah. Almost getting to like
no, I think there's some kind of kicking things out. Like for example, it could be on the very first episode of season 3. It begins where like I don't know, they have an adventure in the real world, and then they all get killed, and they meet Michael, and Michael says, "Hey, let me just real quick download the memory of the past 600 times you've been here." And then everyone's like, "Oh, whoa, that's crazy." And he's like, "Yeah, so here's the thing. We were trying to get you to the good place, the actual good place, but that's not possible. So it turns out we're going to go to the horse good place. You're all really horses, and you're meeting other horses now." Like, I could totally see something like that.
Equisapiens, roll out.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Side spoiler.
That'd be a crossover I would watch. That's a good crossover. Sorry to good place you.
I don't get the joke.
Good. I hang in there. You'll there's going to be some day that you're like, holy cow, that's insane.
Don't tell me. It's true.
Hey, I think I figured it out though. There's two things this show does. One is subvert your expectation by flat out lying to you, in which case it's quite likely that they're not alive and back on Earth. And in fact, the judge wasn't actually a judge from The Good Place. And this has all been some other, sort of trap. And that shows up. And the other thing is the rules get broken and people realize what's going on, even though they're not supposed to. So I fully expect to see one or the other, if not both of those things happen.
Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to start talking about Better Call Saul. So Megan has not been watching it past the Netflix episodes. So Megan, so as not to spoil you, we'll have to bid you a fond farewell. Thank you so much for joining us and talking The Good Place. It's been great.
Yes, it has been fun. Thank you for having me. And I look forward to watching were we going to watch? The Michael Jordan movie?
Space Jam.
Yeah. No. It's called the Michael Jordan Experience, if I'm not mistaken.
That was the 3D showing.
Michael Jam.
We've never seen it.
I look forward to watching Space Jam with all three of you. And Bryce, if you need to give me spoilers to the movie, that's fine.
Do they win? Do they win at the end? I can't go into it not knowing if they win at the end.
Maybe eat the monsters. Come on, Bryce.
There's tension. It's about tension, everybody.
Where's the venue? Does it take place on Earth or somewhere else?
Where does it?
And what flavor is the Space Jam?
You guys are asking surprisingly pertinent questions.
And what is the difference between Space Jam and Space Jelly? That's the important one.
Really key. All right. Well, you guys enjoy your discussion. Thank you for having me. And thank
you, Megan. You're the best.
Thanks again, Megan.
All right, Tom.
Yes, Brian Brushwood.
Loved everything about the first 5 minutes of this episode. That whole the
split screen montage that wasn't always really a split screen was pretty clever.
Yeah, but it certainly conveyed the fact that this is the split screen conveyed the fact that there's an increasing emotional distance between the two, which is the type of thing that happens when you live with someone. It shows them operating in their lives independently and parallel to each other. I like the fact that it was a surprise to her that he was going and selling cell phones. Like, whatever that implies, some level of emotional distance and autonomy between the two of them. My only, and it's a fairly major annoyance, is the fact that this felt like it didn't have to be a two-parter, and then suddenly so anyway, next week, whatevs, and I would say on the list of complaints about a Better Call Saul episode, that's probably the best one to have.
That you wish it would have told you the whole story in one episode instead of dragging it out.
Yes.
I agree with you. Everything. If anything, the split screen only annoyed me as I'm getting older. I was like, wait, hold on, I hadn't been finished looking at that side yet, and you already switched. But I loved it. I thought it conveyed that so well, especially because they broke the plane. Like when her leg crosses over, it's sort of showing you there's a distance, but it still could be bridged. And then later in the montage, they're just sleeping in their panels, right?
Yep.
And there's just no crossing. It's like, wow, that distance has grown over these months. So yeah, totally good. I also like the idea that Saul Goodman was now formalized as the cell phone selling guy, because you better call Saul if you want a phone that protects your privacy, right? Like the name of the show, obviously, for those of us who watch Breaking Bad, is very familiar. But let's say in some pretend world you hadn't. I like the consistency of that. We're like, oh, so that's why it's Better Call Saul, because he's the phone guy, and that's what he's going to end up being. And I imagine that'll be kind of an interesting little side story about how that evolves. How that office that he was showing ends up not being the final office, and all of that. But the seeds are being planted in a nice pace so that I don't feel pandered to, but I feel like it's making sense going towards what I know he is going to end up being.
Yeah. So if we're placing bets going into next week, what do you think the 2.0 plan to get Professor Pickpocket off?
Well,
is?
I mean, that's the thing, right? I have no idea where she kept throwing more and more markers and construction paper in her basket. And I was like, maybe I'm burnt out from moving, but I don't get it. I don't see where this is going. I don't have an inkling at all what she's planning and why it would be so good that she could convince Jimmy to stop whatever he was doing, which is certainly some con or trick or swindle or cheat.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't put it past him. Wouldn't surprise me at all if we go back next week and we see everything from Jimmy's perspective and what he was almost about to do, and then instead there's this awesome fusion as the two of them put their shenanigans hive mind together.
But yeah, I mean, do you have an idea of where they're going? Because I'm like, it's a lot of craft materials. I have no idea.
I got nothing. We also,
which I love.
Maybe a protest. That's if it's a lot of markers.
Yeah, for drawing signs or whatever.
It could be some sort of like AstroTurf protest sort of thing, maybe.
Meanwhile, we did get to peek in on the brewing trouble on the Mike Ehrmantraut stuff. We were able to see that one guy who's getting real snippy, and then we also saw there's, in fact, I think it's like 15 minutes into the episode, we see Hector Salamanca. And, he's doing his thing where and you know how I am about the fetishization of anything from the other show. Like all I saw on the face of that actor is, so this again, huh? There was a good 20 minutes where I got to talk and act like an actor, but I guess, all right.
I don't know. I think actors dig up that, like, it's a challenge. I'll have to express with my emotions. So it's probably fine.
What do you think the direct significance of from Giancarlo Esposito when he noticed on the tape that he intentionally knocked over the water over so he could catch a gander of the nurse?
It feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm maybe missing stuff here, but it feels like Fring wanted to keep him from dying in order to make him suffer.
Right. So now he's got what he wants.
Now that he sees a prospect for full recovery, he needs to stop that. So that Hector will be trapped in his own body.
Oh, no. I think what my take is even darker. I think he didn't want recovery. I think he wanted confirmation that he's awake and alert and in there and helpless. And now that's his plaything.
That fits into my theory too. You're right.
Yeah.
And that got a little too far with him waking up and having rehab, and so he had to fire her.
Right, and he's like, "And we're done. That's just the right amount of him being there, give or take." Great.
I'm very curious where this where this thing is going with the Germans, because Ehrmantraut is very careful. He doesn't just fly off the handle, and so when Mike Ehrmantraut says, "What would happen if we just sent that guy back?"
Right.
That's like throwing a tantrum for Mike Ehrmantraut, right? Like, that's bad. The designer, the architect, they're all good boys. They're always good boys. Like, you can tell he just never wants to admit that any of them have a fault, because he's hoping that they'll just get the job done and then there won't be any trouble, and he doesn't want to face that conflict.
I mean, is there any doubt where Kai ends up? He's going to
be in that concrete that he's been pouring.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Hey, I just finished rewatching Breaking Bad, and
one of the laundry machines is called Kai.
No,
and that's where he ends up.
I more on the timeline and how this relates to the construction. This takes place. We saw in this episode that we are in 2004. Breaking Bad takes place in about 2008. Which means that this construction project that was slated to be a little over a year and is now looking to be 2 years doesn't get done until Giancarlo Fring hires Walt and Gail Bedecker in season 3 of Breaking Bad. So we know this construction progress is going to take a very long time.
Would it be if one of these actors becomes somebody that we care about in the German crew, and it happens to be somebody who was just a day extra in Breaking Bad and like an Easter egg planted 7 years in the past.
That'd be elegant.
Yeah.
That'd be very elegant.
Yeah. But I think either this construction thing is going to stretch out much longer than maybe would be
we would hope.
Yeah. But it does signal choppy waters ahead for the entire construction process and Gail Bedeker's eventual injection
being
into
brought
this
back
process.
in. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, that's all I got on Better Call Saul for this week. Anything else from you guys?
No. That's it from me.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, like I said, next week we'll start watching Dirk Gently. So we'll continue with Better Call Saul. We'll start watching Dirk Gently as our library watch. We've got The Good Place coming back in 3 days, so we may be talking about that as well. And keep an eye out on your feed for the winter movie draft. We'll spoil you again next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.